It is the 23rd of October, Kyiv Security Forum, and yes, we are at the underground parking because this is how the modern Ukrainian diplomacy looks like because of the full-scale Russian invasion. And here are the ambassadors Herbst and Verzbul, the General Lut, and other speakers present this. It's the memorandum to the President of America with call to give Ukraine all resources, not to just keep fighting, but to win Russia. And also it calls to give Ukraine's clear path of integration in the alliance on the next NATO summit in Washington the next year.
Putin understands only force, which is why Kyiv needs enough weapons for the armed forces of Ukraine to not just contain, but also kick Russian invaders out of their land. That's what diplomats, military and security advisors to the leaders of Kyiv's allies said in the address to the US President Joe Biden. The document has already been handed over to congressmen and the White House.
It calls for us to understand that Moscow is pursuing an aggressive foreign policy that threatens the United States. So we have a vital interest in making sure Putin loses in Ukraine. The way to do that is to present all the weapons Ukraine needs, more advanced weapons in large quantities and in a timely fashion, so they win the war on the battlefield.
To prevent a repeat of Russian aggression, Ukraine must become a member of NATO. A consensus on this issue within the alliance is unlikely to be reached before the end of the war, but it is necessary to develop a plan and infrastructure for Kyiv's integration now. An invitation for Ukraine to join and a clearly defined path at the NATO summit in Washington will be an important signal to the Kremlin that the West is serious about its aspirations.
Well, I think if we can do the two major things that this memo recommends, it would have an impact. It may not be enough to completely turn Putin around and realize that it only gets worse for him the longer he prolongs this war. But I think it will at least dispel his false optimism that Russia is prevailing and that he can wait us out. I think that's the important thing in the short term, is that he no longer believes that time is on his side.
Ukraine also seeks to fulfill all the recommendations of the alliance for the upcoming summit. This was reported by the representatives of the Ukrainian parliament.
We see that sometimes it takes about 3 to 4 months between the interim assessment of the 7 EU criteria and their actual fulfillment. So we can do it as long as we want. This is the main thing we need to prioritize, not to expect agreement with NATO and to have something that we can offer to our colleagues in return. Then we will succeed.
According to the data provided in the memorandum, the armed forces of Ukraine have already destroyed about 50% of the Russian army's military capabilities. The final victory over Russia will lead to stability in the region, so the US is expected to take more decisive steps before the Washington NATO summit in July. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavskaya, Danila Kobza, UATV News.